While in a daze, the killing aura willpower finally backed out, and Luo Feng quickly regained his consciousness. I failed. I actually failed. Black-clothed Luo Feng frowned. I knew that getting to the 100th would be extremely difficult, but I didn't expect to fail at the 93rd. That killing aura willpower was simply too powerful, and the pain was so intense. All of this shows one thing. My willpower is still not strong enough. Luo Feng was extremely wrong. Willpower not strong enough? Even an absolute genius of 1,000,000,000 years from the undying shrine, blood god Baki, who could become undying in a short time if he wanted to, his willpower paled in comparison to Luo Feng's. Many Sector Lord pinnacles were far behind him as well. Hence, in terms of willpower, Luo Feng was indeed very strong. The true reason was just how many people had even absorbed up to 93 Blood River crystals. Absorbing 10 on Blood River continent alone would make one the legendary Black Warrior. Every extra absorption had 10 times more the requirements on the body in many different aspects. To absorb 93 crystals? That was simply unrealistic. 93 Blood River crystals would have an ever-increasing killing aura willpower. It was absurdly insane. The right claw cannot absorb anymore. But what about the other parts of the Golden Horned Beast? The Golden Horned Beast grabbed the crystal, placing it in its left claw, slashing through the scales. Fresh blood seeped out. The formless energy rushed into its body, simultaneously gathering the rest of the killing aura willpower from before within and swiftly coursed through. The energy clashed immediately into Luo Feng's willpower within the Golden Horned Beast. How can this be? It actually melded with the willpower from before to be even stronger? Luo Feng was shocked. Kill. The mad killing aura willpower once again rushed in. Luo Feng fought hard against it, condensing his willpower like a stone, struggling to defend against it. However, even though it was rock solid, under the rush of the endless aura, it was still reduced to ashes. Once again he lost consciousness. That formless energy returned into the crystal and Luo Feng regained consciousness. Within the control room of the automaton ship, the crystal ball was revolving. On its surface gold engravings glimmered with gold light. Suddenly in place of the crystal, black-clothed Luo Feng appeared. I actually failed. Black-clothed Luo Feng sat in the sofa and looked ahead into the vast space. How did it go, Luo Feng? Beside the energy image of the demon, Babata asked. Black-clothed Luo Feng explained what happened during the process. That's expected. There probably hasn't been anything in the history of Blood River continent about absorbing 93 crystals. Even the highest level Fortunio beast only managed a little over 10. Demon Babata smiled. Luo Feng, don't worry too much. As your willpower gets stronger, you'll be able to absorb them in the future. I don't care about this. Luo Feng frowned. The only thing is the rest of the Golden Horned Beast is unable to absorb the crystals. It's because you are unable to withstand the kill aura willpower. Demon Babata too sat on the sofa beside him, crossing his legs and looking at the vast space ahead. The energy within the crystal is capable of altering one's body. Its range is limited. However, the killing aura willpower is different. It's a willpower that is able to spread to any part of the entire body. When you wanted to let its left claw absorb the crystal, that willpower would directly connect throughout its body and attack you. Black-clothed Luo Feng nodded. He understood the theory. Every absorption had an increase in the killing aura willpower. Even if used at different parts of the body, the willpower would still increase. Luckily, all the Blood River crystals I had before, I decided to place all of them in the right claw. Luo Feng thought. The Golden Horned Beast's right claw was now his trump card, since it was extremely terrifying. If he had dispersed the crystals all over the body from the start, then every body part would have been altered about 7 or 8 times. However, that way, the amount of power raised was limited. It was better to simply make one very terrifying right claw. I cannot be too greedy, as this has already been such a windfall for me. Since I am still constantly training my willpower, I believe there will be a day I can absorb the 100th crystal. I have a feeling that once I absorb that 100th crystal, the incomparably complex blood red engraving will be perfected by then. It should have some special properties as well by then. Luo Feng thought. Continue. 3 great bodies, and all of them are training in their own ways. Luo Feng quickly recollected his thoughts. There were 2 missions for this Blood River world. The first was to acquire 1 Blood River crystal, and completing that would give him a reward of 10k points. The second was to become a Blood Warrior and acquire the Blood River medal. The reward for this was 100k points. Even though this was the case, acquiring large amounts of crystals wouldn't get more points. However, these crystals were unique only to Blood River world, as it was a special product of this Blood River world. And even though there were plenty of it in this world, almost all the domain lords had most of them. Some universe-level elites had a few of them too. However, they were still extremely valuable. Since I will get as many as possible. These Blood River crystals should be worth a lot. Masha Luo Feng continued on his hunting trip. Of course, he spent most of his time rushing around to find these crystals, and the true hunting time itself was very short. Hence, other than hunting, the Masha Luofeng would be in the automaton ship in the internal world, studying and training in the floating blood manual, time-space scribbles, and studying the nine-universe tablet, the drizzle picture. The golden horned beast was training tearing sky and land with the three ancient pictures. Its right claw's power was shocking, since it connected directly to the universe origin laws, causing its power to amplify about 9 times. This meant that, when using the right claw versus not using it, the golden horned beast's strength had a difference of almost 10 times. Its body alone was already incomparably intrepid and powerful, but 10 times the strength on top of that? This was, however, a miracle after all. Absorbing 92 crystals was an extremely absurd thing to do. The power of the right claw was shocking, hence it was training with the three ancient pictures. Luofeng emphasized on the three pictures. The first was the beast's flight, waving its tail and dispersing the huge hand in the sky. The second was it lowering its head and looking ahead, piercing forward while flying. The third was it waving its claws, attacking brutally. The golden horned beast's right claw was originally very strong. After combined with this attack, and its studying tearing sky and land, 80% of its attention was spent to study the first claw of tearing sky. Luofeng had long prepared to use this first claw technique as his true killing technique. Since the right claw was extremely strong, naturally he had to focus on claw attacks. Strong combinations, that meant more power. The first claw of tearing sky, the golden horned beast began its tedious and mad training. It was studying the techniques left behind by its ancestors and searching for the grace of that ancient beast's claw technique, while constantly increasing the strength of tearing sky's first claw. The Earth body would frequent the undying lessons, occasionally studying gold and space combination, simultaneously spending long periods of time in the killing aura to alter his body. Of course, all three bodies were in training. The golden horned beast would occasionally try to absorb the blood river crystal, so that it could feel the rush of the killing aura willpower and withstanding it to train itself further. The Masha was training via slaughter. The Earth body was training his mind and heart from teachings of his two brothers Hong and Thunder God, while occasionally meeting them in the virtual universe and chatting. With the both of them reaching the pinnacle of Chinese martial arts and Indian yoga, Luofeng would get some inspiration occasionally, studying the origin laws, wonders, training his mind and heart. In the long passages of time, Luofeng constantly improved himself. In a flash, 30 years had gone by. In the vast Blood River continent, in a particular territory city leader's mansion, it was daytime. "You actually dare attack me? You must be looking to die." A fierce roar like the rage of a god resounded throughout the skies of the city. A black silhouette rushed into the skies straight into the cloud levels. It was the black-clothed Luofeng. Damn, there actually was a sector lord here. Black-clothed Luofeng's speed was shocking. "You dare to attack me and wish to flee." The voice rumbled straight into his ears. Simultaneously, a formless world energy pressure immediately poured over. A white pyramid appeared before Luofeng, and he flew straight in. The golden-robed middle-aged man chasing behind saw the silver-white pyramid, staring wide-eyed. "It's the outsiders." He quickly chased and simultaneously used his world energy to pressure the automaton ship. However, the ship's speed was simply too fast. It rushed straight through the 18 cloud levels. The golden-robed middle-aged man stood at the 18th level and looked up through the clouds, not daring to follow. "It's actually an outsider." The man's face was perplexed. "I have to inform the Undying Shrine. Another outsider has descended into our Blood River continent." The automaton ship was in space. Control room. That was too risky. Black-clothed Luofeng sat in the sofa and let out a sigh of relief. "I didn't expect a sector lord to be hiding in the city, since he didn't release his energy at all and I had no way to detect him. However, his movement and use of the universe space made me feel his presence. Lucky I fled quickly." The Masha clansman could unleash over 10,000 images, making his instantaneous speed terrifying. This was even faster than many sector lords. Fast, but this speed was mostly used just at the start for a quick burst. The moment a sector lord's speed truly took off, he would quickly catch up. Hence he used that outburst to create some distance, and after which enter the automaton ship to escape. Walking along the river for so long, how can one's shoes not get wet? Luofeng softly muttered. After this incident, that sector lord would definitely inform the Undying Shrine. The shrine would probably begin to discover small patterns and traces, maybe even my entire plan. Anyway, I've acquired enough over these 30 years, it's time to stop. During these 30 years, Masha Luofeng's hunt had given him a total of 9,816 Blood River crystals. Luofeng felt it was savage enough. It was time to stop. Virtual Universe. Black Dragon Mountain Island, close to the river by 9-Star Bay. 3 people sat there. A tall and sturdy youth with short hair was dressed in casual clothing, yet his energy felt like a pike ready to pierce forward at any time. On his left was a clean white-robed bald youth who was smiling. His smile was so pure, it made one's soul get drawn in. Beside these two sat a skinnier youth. His killing aura was heavy. His entire being seemed to have been drenched in a bloody river of cold massacre. That aura was terrifying. 30. Your mental state is really hitting the limit. The bald youth shook his head and smiled. Second brother, in terms of mental state, I cannot compare to you. I cannot break through for now. The only thing I can do is push my limits, that way at least I'll improve. Luo Feng smiled. He could feel it himself. In reality, as he was spending long periods of time in the ancient god ruins of Blood River World, he was influenced for tens of years by the killing aura. He was originally ice-cold within his bones. But now with the invasion of the killing aura, and with the golden horned beast absorbing so many Blood River crystals, even within the virtual universe Luo Feng emitted a powerful killing aura. Pushing your limits is after all still a small path. Thunder God shook his head. Second brother. Hong sat and smiled. You don't have to force third brother. In terms of mental state training, he's also exceptional. To be able to train his mental state to such a level, where he is not affected by dust or poison is great. Absolute purity, absolute rejection, and absolute coagulation. This form of absoluteness is also a growth in mental state. Thunder God was shocked, nodding. He asked curiously, Big brother, but this is still after all? Hong looked at Luo Feng. Third brother. Big brother. Luo Feng smiled at Hong. Your second brother and I have been giving you many pointers on mental training. However, this is different from other training. It's a form of release in spirit. Hong looked at Luo Feng. Many mysteries before may have been explained. Today I'll depict it for you from the highest levels. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Heart? What is heart? Mental state. Just what is that? Hong smiled. From a warrior's training point of view, the heart is actually willpower. Your willpower strength is already exceptional. Hong said. However, overall, from an overall look, you are still only on the first level of the three great mental states. First level? Luo Feng was shocked. Three great mental states? This is my summary. Hong smiled. In our Chinese ancient culture, we've always emphasized on the training of one's mental state. There are all sorts of tests for the heart. By training in them, these will all be directed at one's heart, and we'll be able to see one's heart clearly. The body is the wisdom tree. Your heart is the stand of the bright mirror. You must frequently wipe it. Don't let it become dusty. It actually refers to looking at oneself and understanding. Luo Feng frowned. Right now, your heart is like a mirror, not affected by dust. Your heart is like a blade, slicing through obstacles. It's already considered having seen yourself and understood it, reaching a very high level. Hong exclaimed. Now, you continue to train your heart, making your willpower stronger. However, no matter how much you train, you are still only on the first level. What's the second level? Luo Feng asked. Simply put, man and nature is one. Hong pointed at Thunder God beside. Your second brother is considered to be at the second level. What's man and nature as one? Luo Feng asked. Man and nature as one refers to the perfect mental state. Hong smiled. What do I mean by perfect? When one's yin and yang are fully melded and are complementing each other. As for how? Your current path, chasing limits, that's simply pushing it. Simply pushing your limits may strengthen yourself. However, only when the yin and yang are working together will it be perfect. Just like a man in this world, when he feels harmony, he'll be sturdy and flexible depending on whichever the situation requires. This mental state is as such too. When it's time to be like a blade, or when it's time to train, and when it's time to be gentle like water, the water always flows around the blade. In terms of defense, the water is even more solid than a shield, hence it's more powerful. Hong smiled. The harmony of yin and yang, man and nature, mental state harmony. Of course, this is a very high level of perfection, and is that of a pure and innocent heart. In theory, it's already the pinnacle. Your brother is as such. Luo Feng held his breath as he listened, asking, heart like a blade, I understand. But how do I make my heart like water? I'll explain the theory, but the state itself is hard to explain. Hong smiled and shook his head. That 1SD level refers to one's heart and understanding it, and to be able to see through the rubble. The second is the harmony of yin and yang, man and nature, heart of pureness, perfect mental state. Luo Feng asked, in theory the second state is the pinnacle already, then what about the third? Thunder God beside him smiled. The third level. Your big brother has begun to barely perceive it. The third, Hong said softly, is what I've just begun to touch. Heart is void and vast. Heart is endless. Heart, encompassing everything. What do you mean? Luo Feng asked. It's hard to explain. Hong smiled. How about this? If the second is the harmony of yin and yang, man and nature as one, melding perfectly with everything around, then the 3RD is the heart being endless and vast, encompassing everything, including the endless universe, everything. Anything with a will can be encompassed, whether it's slaughter, material wealth and goals, appreciation of beauty, lust for power, everything. Luo Feng was shocked. Everything could be encompassed. If one can achieve this state, even facing against an incredibly powerful opponent, life form, all willpower, cannot affect me. Hong smiled. Damn, that's sick. Luo Feng stared. Sick, right? The white baldy thunder god smiled. Man and nature as one, heart of pureness. Whether it's yoga or Chinese ancient culture, these are all the pinnacle. However your brother's level, in ancient Chinese culture it has been mentioned before but never reached. Hence, no one really knows. Luo Feng looked at Hong, filled with even more admiration. 3 great mental states. First level, seeing through and understanding yourself. In many Buddhist teachings and paths, this was already progress. The second level, man and nature as one, heart of pureness. This was in theory the pinnacle. Third level, heart vast and endless, encompassing everything. This was unbelievable. Big brother, how do you reach this third level? Luo Feng couldn't help but ask. The second state, I can barely touch it, however I can't fully comprehend it. Mental state training all relied on the heart. Luo Feng's understanding of his self had reached a limit. Indeed, he only had a small understanding of the harmony between yin and yang. It's hard to explain. I've only managed to get some ideas from looking at some books. Hong smiled. There's a saying, emptiness is the strongest. Another one also says that only when one doesn't contest will he be able to contest everything. Actually, I've studied many theories from the ancient Chinese culture. These 2 sayings are considered to have sparked my reaching of this level. Emptiness is the strongest. Only when one doesn't contest will he be able to contest everything. Luo Feng frowned. The logic is simple and I understand it. But what you mean is, the Chinese culture is bright, with countless exceptional people in history being able to reach man and nature as one. With hearts of pureness, these are all ancient history. Reach the second level first. Hong smiled. Let me see. These should be helpful for you. Read these few Chinese culture books. It may help. Luo Feng nodded. Suddenly, he felt something stir within. Masha clansman is here. The Masha clansman sat in the automaton ship. It had been flying close to light speed in the space above Blood River World for a few months already, and finally arrived. Blood River cloud levels. A faint silhouette immediately passed through 1,000 kilometers and landed beside the huge pit quarters. With a flash it went in. Huge pit quarters. Luo Feng, who was dressed in the bronze armor, got up on his hind legs. Looking at the entrance of the cave, a black silhouette appeared. It was Masha Luo Feng. 10 Blood River crystals. Masha Luo Feng casually placed the 10 crystals and left again, passing through the 18 cloud levels and into the automaton ship which was floating in the space above. For safety reasons, he let the Masha body take the internal core into space. At least it was very safe. Within the huge pit quarters, I finally have Blood River crystals. Luo Feng collected the 10 crystals and revealed a helpless smile. The last time, I let the golden horned beast absorb everything until there was none left for my earth body. 30 years. A total of 30 years had passed, during which he was constantly absorbing the killing aura and changing his body. Yet he hadn't tried absorbing the crystals. Let's try and see if I can absorb the third one. Luo Feng took out a crystal. It had been long since he absorbed the 2ND 30 years later. Now he was trying the third. He cut his palm and placed the crystal on the wood. The killing aura willpower clashed against his willpower. Compared to the golden horned beast's absorption, this little willpower is simply pathetic. Luo Feng couldn't help but exclaim, following which he felt intense pain. His body began to evolve. However, compared to the successful absorption of the 91st and 92nd crystals, this third one couldn't be considered anything. The blood energy continued to pour through his body. The Blood River crystal became more and more transparent. The sound of bones breaking occurred from his chest. I actually failed. Luo Feng looked at the close to transparent Blood River crystal. Large amounts of blood energy was returning back, making it revert to its original state. He was helpless. Indeed, the more I absorb, the harder it gets. I only stayed in the ancient god ruins for 2 years before and I managed to absorb the second. However, now after 30 years, I am still unable to absorb the third. Luo Feng shook his head. The golden horned beast's body looks like the body structure and composition is indeed much more perfect than a human body. At least in certain aspects, it's much superior. Even though he failed, Luo Feng wasn't troubled at all. In fact, he was anticipating. From the looks of it, there's still hope for me to absorb the third crystal. I have to become a blood warrior, acquire the Blood River medal, and return to receive my 100k points reward.